Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at area and perimeter. How are they the same and how are they different? So we're going to look at shapes and we're going to find the area of both shapes and see if it's the same. And then we're going to look at perimeter and find the perimeter of both shapes and see how that's the same. So pay very close attention to what we're going to be working on today. Like we mentioned before, in this video we're talking about both area, which is the inside measurement of a figure, and perimeter, which is the distance outside of the figure. So, before we continue, we are going to learn two things in this video. Number one, we're going to learn about shapes with the same area but different perimeter. And number two, we're going to be looking at figures with the same perimeter but different area. So make sure you're paying attention closely to the examples that we see. Number one, we're going to see these two figures here, and we need to figure out whether they are the same or they are different. And if so, what about them is different? So first, we're going to look at the area of each shape. For the first shape, the area is length times width, which is 12 times 2, and that equals 24. For the second shape, the area would be 6 times 4, which is also 24. So that means that the area is the same, right? But what about the perimeter? Is the perimeter the same? So let's figure that out. Remember, before we get started, the perimeter is the distance outside of the shape. So we're going to be adding up each side. So here we have 12 plus 2 plus 12 plus 2. And for some reason we're redoing it. So again, 12 plus 2 plus 12 plus 2, which is 14 plus 14. So for our first figure, our perimeter is 28 centimeters. For our second figure, we have 6 plus 4 plus 6 plus 4. So 6 plus 4 is 10, and 10 plus 10 is 20 centimeters. So here we see that our perimeters are different. Figure number one, the perimeter is bigger than figure number two. So even though they have the same area, they do have a different perimeter. So let's look at another example. Are these shapes the same? Remember, that's the main question that we're trying to answer. We have shape number one, figure number one, and figure number two. We're going to find the area first of the first figure. So 6 times 3, remember it's length times width, so it's 6 times 3, and that equals 18 centimeters. Then for figure number 2, we have 9 times 2, which equals 18 centimeters. So that means that both figures have the same area. That means that the inside measurement of each figure is the same. So now we need to figure out whether they have the same perimeter. So for perimeter, we're adding up each side. So 6 plus 3 plus 6 plus 3. 6 plus 3 is 9. And 9 plus 9 is 18 centimeters for our first figure. For our second figure, we have 2 plus 9 plus 2 plus 9. And 2 plus 9 is 11. And 11 plus 11 is 22 centimeters. So with these two shapes, we see that again, we have the same area, but different perimeter. Therefore, our shapes are not the same. Let's look at another example. This is example number 3. And here we have another two shapes. One is a square, one is a rectangle. We're going to start by finding the area of each one. The area is length times width, and for our first figure, it's 5 times 5, which is 25 centimeters. For our second one, it's 6 times 4, and 6 times 4 is 24 centimeters. So the area is different in this one. We need to figure out whether the perimeter is the same or if it's also different. So let's look at the perimeter. Again, perimeter is the distance outside. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 10 plus 10, which is 20 centimeters. And then for our second shape, we have 6 plus 4 plus 6 plus 4, which is 10 plus, just 10 plus 10. And so that means that our perimeter for our second figure is 20 centimeters. So even though our area is different, our perimeter is the same for these two shapes. Let's look at another example. Here we have these shapes, and we see that for shape number 1, we're going to find the area first. That means that we're going to multiply 5 times 3, length times width, which for our first figure, our area is 15 feet. For our second figure, again, length times width, so that means it's 2 times 6, which is 12 feet. So here we see that we have different areas. So we need to figure out whether the perimeters are the same. So let's figure that out. For our first shape, we would add 5 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3, which is 8 plus 8, and that equals 16 feet. Let's look at our second shape. That would be 6 plus 2 plus 6 plus 2, which is 8 plus 8, again, 16 feet as a perimeter. So for this shape, we have a different area, but the same perimeter. Our next example, we're trying to figure out whether these shapes are the same and what is the same about them and what is different about them. So here is our first shape, here is our second shape. We're going to continue our pattern and look for the area of the first shape first. So we are going to multiply 2 times 6, which is 12 centimeters. And for our second shape, we're going to find our length times our width, which is 3 times 4. And our area is 12 centimeters. In this case, we see that the areas are the same. So we need to figure out whether the perimeter is also the same or if the perimeter is different. Let's see. For figure number 1, 6 plus 2 plus 6 plus 2, which is 8 plus 8, and that means it is 16 centimeters as a perimeter. For shape number 2, we are adding 3 plus 4 plus 3 plus 4, which is equal to 7 plus 7, and that is equal to 14 centimeters. So we see that our two perimeters are different. So this example has the same area but different perimeters. Another example, we have two figures here, one square, one rectangle, and we're going to look for our area first, length times width. Our length is 3, our width is 3 as well. So 3 times 3 equals 9 inches. Our area for our second shape is 2 times 4, length is 2, width is 4. 2 times 4 is 8 inches. So we see that we have two different areas, like once again. So for this example, we have different area, but we need to figure out whether it's different perimeter as well. So we are going to add 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, all of the outside of the first shape. That would equal to 12 inches. For our second shape, we're going to add all of the outside, 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 4, and that equals to 6 plus 6, which is 12. And in this example, we see that both perimeters are the same for this example. Don't forget the steps that we just learned. Now it's your turn to go ahead and try some on your own.